Hello and welcome to the online learning environment for a course unit developed around media literacy and social responsibility. The design of this program is to integrate with a theology curriculum that is going to help students to develop important digital media literacy skills. There are four main competencies, and if you check out our introduction page, you can learn what those competencies are. The first is assessing. Students will learn how to find relevant and appropriate information using media and technology tools. The second is evaluating and analyzing that media using critical thinking and considering the bias and the moral and social implications of how someone conducts themselves online. The third competency is creating and expressing. Students need to be able to use media to communicate their own messages to the outside world. They'll consider purpose, audience, and the message that is in the content that they are going to create. Lastly, students will learn how to be activists, how to advocate for problems in the local and global community, and how to use problem-solving techniques that will be integrating media to get the message out and to get people moving in topics and social issues that matter to them. Let's check out the online learning environment beyond the introduction here. Each lesson has its own dedicated page that we can navigate to. This is the assessing lesson here. And you can see that the assessing lesson has some introductory videos, and these are going to guide students through content. When they first arrive on the page, they're going to be exposed to vocab that they need to know. Before class begins, they will have already been assigned their own Google search, and then here they learn about how Google search works. These videos talk about filter bubbles and how the techniques that Google uses to filter results and give them to students can sometimes create sort of a snowball effect of only giving students certain content. As they learn about that and how PageRank works to show them search results through Google, they're going to investigate how it has already impacted their own searches. They're going to compare and contrast their search results of the same keywords with those of other students in the class. And this is going to tie directly into the homework they had the night before, which had them searching for different topics. And then there's a little formative assessment at the end here to check and see what they've learned. And lastly, a new homework assignment for them to consider how to morally go forward with their new knowledge by writing a recommendation to the CEO of Google. Our next lesson is going to move into the next competency area, which is evaluating and analyzing. Again, students will have had a assignment to guide them into this lesson. In this case, they will have found some faith-related articles that talk about scientific discovery, and they're going to consider whether these articles have a bias. They're going to be exposed to some important vocab to know, and then again, they're going to have a chance to look at some content here and consider what it means. So it appears that there's a problem here. All right, apologies for that. So here we have a letter called the Dear Jack letter. And this is from a book by Lynn Truss called Eats, Shoots, and Leaves. And we can see in this initial letter that it has no punctuation. So students will read it to themselves and try and guess what the meaning of this passage is. But if you continue on to the next slide, you can see here's one version of how the punctuation comes together. And you can see that this is a love letter. Jill is asking Jack, will you let me be yours? Looking at the next version, however, same exact message, but now the punctuation has been changed. And we can see that this is not a love letter. In fact, this is a letter saying, please leave me alone. So the point in this that students will consider is how even if the content is identical, there can be some some subtle changes that will completely alter the meaning of the message. So with that in mind, students will have a discussion with their classmates, and then they will view these two videos here, both of which claim to be talking about the trustworthiness of the press. However, each represents one of the major political parties' perspective on that particular topic. So students will be considering how even videos talking about bias can be biased, or at least reflect a certain perspective. Students will learn about Whois, which is an online service that allows you to investigate what funding or what creator has put their influence on a given website. So they're going to practice exploring Whois and check out some of the major party candidates and investigate who they are. We have an example here actually of a website about Martin Luther King Jr. And Whois actually points out that the creator of this content is unfortunately a longtime white supremacist, a bad person, not a reliable source. And so this Whois service can help students to identify whether or not a site is credible. So they're going to practice using that in class. And then they'll take the media bias quiz here and then take on the homework assignment given here. Last thing on the evaluating analyzing section is some good old theological source information. This is a Catholic theology course that this content is being integrated into, and so this is simply a guideline and a set of standards to help students to navigate when something's authentically reflecting a teaching of the Catholic Church as opposed to perhaps a misrepresentation of the teachings of the Catholic Church. The next lesson is around creating and expressing. Here students are going to create their own advertisement. Their homework assignment is going to have them develop a brand based around one of the 7 sacraments. And then from there, they're going to try and make their own ad. Before that, they're going to view this video here about Super Bowl ads. There are a number of ads here. As a class, we will discuss and analyze what those ads are trying to communicate, who they're targeting, and what makes them effective or ineffective. Then the students are going to storyboard their own commercials based on the brand that they created for homework. And in groups, they are going to use Storyboard That, a program that will allow them to put together their own story, their own ad. And then for homework, they'll finish that ad and they will present it to their classmates in the following class. Our last lesson is focused on the area of activism, and this is an opportunity for students to consider social issues and think about how social media can be used to influence those situations. So, they're going to look at, for homework, they're going to look at a number of online advocacy movements, including hashtags like Me Too, Black Lives Matter, those types of issues, and they're going to come into class to talk about one of these social issues. They're going to study some vocabulary, and then there are a couple of really great TED Talks that are going to help students to consider what active engagement with the community looks like. And we have some questions for discussions here. So students will watch the videos, engage in the discussion questions, watch the next video, engage in more discussion questions. And that will take up pretty much the entire lesson. So the homework will be dedicated to empowering students to advocate for a social issue of their own choosing. And using these videos and the discussion in class as inspiration, they're going to get to choose from a couple of options and develop their own advocacy program using online media. So that is a quick overview of all the portions of the curriculum unit that I have put together for media literacy and social responsibility. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed.